Welcome to I Told My Story YouTube channel. I'm Joseph, and this is the second part of my story. If you haven't seen it, please don't forget to watch the first part. When I stepped into my father's room, I found my mother crying. "Mom, where is Dad?" I asked, my heart racing. My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes and said in a trembling voice, "Joseph, your father," but she couldn't finish the sentence. For a moment, she was at a loss for words. "Your father is very well," she continued at last. "In fact, he made a miraculous recovery," she said. Surprised, I muttered, "How can this be?" At that moment, the door of the room opened and the doctor came in. The doctor's face was smiling and radiating a positive energy. He turned to me and said, "Joseph, your father's test results are great. It's like he's never really been sick. He can be discharged even today," he said. With the good news from the doctor, my eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of joy, not sadness. The joy inside me seemed to envelop me and rise towards the sky, but there was still a question mark in my mind. Had the wise old man from my dream helped me again? The next morning, we met at the breakfast table before going to school. My mother was preparing a delicious breakfast, and my father was sitting at the table with his newspaper as usual. I approached them excitedly and asked my father, "Are you all right, Daddy?" My father turned to me with a big smile and said, "I am very well, son." Then we all burst out laughing. My father's recovery really brought great joy and happiness to our whole family. At breakfast, I excitedly told them about the Fukang meteorite I had found. My parents looked at me in amazement. I immediately took out my cell phone and showed them a photo of the meteorite. I told them that I had contacted the government authorities and that the meteorite was going to be auctioned off. I told them that maybe now we could become very rich. But my parents just looked at each other, smiling, and then my father turned to me and said, "Money doesn't matter, son. Health and peace of mind are more valuable than anything else." "Yes, being with you and your father is the greatest wealth for me," my mother agreed. When I went to school, there was a strange silence in the classroom. Everyone was looking at each other with concern. I approached my friend sitting next to me and asked, "Why is the class so quiet?" He took a deep breath and began to explain. "Felix's father took unexpectedly ill last night, and he passed away on the spot." I said in amazement, "What? He passed away? How did it happen?" I asked. My friend continued with a sad expression. "I don't know all the details, but the funeral's this afternoon. Will you come?" he asked. I hesitated for a moment, but then I decided, "Of course, I will stand by you. Humanity demands that we support each other in times like these," I said. When I went to the funeral, I saw Felix among the sad faces of the people. I approached him with a sad expression myself, but I noticed that Felix wasn't looking away from me. When Felix looked sadly at the ground, I felt something was wrong inside me. I noticed him and said quietly, "Felix, I'm here." When he looked at me, I could see the pain in his face. "I'm so sorry about your father, Felix," I said, looking at him sincerely. Felix looked down, even sadder, with shame and regret on his face. There was silence for a moment, and then he burst into tears. Felix was writhing in agony, remembering what he had done to me. When he started to cry, everyone looked at him in amazement. "Joseph, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me," he begged, drowning in tears. I could feel his pain, with my heart squeezing inside my chest. I didn't know what to do. I just froze and couldn't say anything. In that sad atmosphere of the funeral, I looked around, but Jasper was nowhere to be found. I asked my friends, but no one knew where he was. Neither Felix nor Jasper came to school that week. As I was walking home after school, my phone rang. It was the government authorities, and they were calling me to the office. This call aroused some excitement within me. When I went to the office, a civil servant said, "Welcome, Joseph. It's good to see you here. I have some good news for you. The Fukang meteorite has been sold at auction." "Really? This is incredible news." "Absolutely. And Joseph, how old are you?" "I am 16 years old." "I see. Since you are a minor, we have to call your mother and father to transfer the money into the account." I said, "Okay, I understand." "I suppose you're wondering how much the meteorite was sold for, Joseph?" the official asked with a curious look. How much was it sold for?" I asked, embarrassed. "It was sold for approximately $20 million, and you get half of that, $10 million. Joseph, you are rich. Very rich." 10 million? That's incredible. Thank you. "Joseph, Joseph, are you all right? When I fainted, I fell into the darkness again and got lost. When I opened my eyes, there was that grandfather with the limp again, the wise old man. I remember you. I remember you, but I don't know who you are. What does it matter who I am, Joseph? I am someone sent by God. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for all you have done. You should thank God, not me. You should also donate some of that money to a charity. Oh, absolutely. That's a great idea. I will definitely do so. I trust you, Joseph. I trust you. When I woke up, I found myself at home. My mom and dad were at my bedside looking at me. How are you, Joseph? My mother asked, worriedly. I'm fine, Mom, I said with a smile. Then I suddenly shouted with joy. Oh, we're rich! We're rich! My mother said with a slight smile. We know, Joseph. We learned everything from the government official when we came to pick you up. Why aren't you as happy as I am? I asked my mother in amazement. Don't you think we are happy, Joseph? My mother said calmly. Of course we are, but the greatest richness for me is that you and your father are healthy and that we are together. You're right, Mom, I said a little shyly. Then I added, maybe we should donate some of that money to charity. What do you think? My father proudly said, That's my son. I smiled proudly and was filled with wonderful feelings. A week passed and the state authorities deposited $10 million into my father's account. In the meantime, Felix had started coming to school, but there was still no news about Jasper. But when I went to school on Monday, I saw an unexpected sight in the classroom. Jasper had come to school with bandages on his face and arms. I debated whether to say something to him or not, but in the end I couldn't resist and decided to go up to Jasper. Get well soon, Jasper, I said, looking at his face. Jasper was very embarrassed and his eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Joseph, he said with difficulty. I'm having a really hard time. Tell me what happened, I asked, trying to support him. Jasper took a deep breath and began. That night after you left, my dad and I had an accident on the road. The car went out of control for no reason and we hit a tree. Dad's still in intensive care and his condition is very serious. How sad. I hope your father recovers soon, I said sincerely. Joseph, you've always been a good guy and I've been mean to you. I'm really sorry, Jasper added with regret on his face. I looked at the floor in silence and then looked at Jasper and smiled slightly. I think Felix and Jasper paid a heavy price for the evil deeds. It was heartbreaking because I never wanted it to be like this. But the sad fact of life is that everybody is responsible for the decisions they make as a person. Months passed and I finished this year's school year with a high score again. When summer vacation came, my family gave me a wonderful surprise. We were going to vacation in a luxury hotel, but suddenly I thought of the wise old man. I had made a promise to him, and I had to fulfill it. That night, I sat down at my computer and searched for charities I could donate to, and finally found one that helps children being treated for leukemia. I thought that my donation could change the lives of many children, and I was filled with peace. When I presented the idea to my family, they agreed without hesitation. With goodness in our hearts, we set off. But when we got to the aid organization, I met someone I never expected in the office. There was the wise old man I had seen in my dreams, standing there in a smart suit. Welcome. How can I help you? He asked with a warm smile. Hello, nice to meet you. Have I ever seen you before? I feel like I know you, I said with puzzled eyes. I don't know, my young friends. The world really is a small place. Maybe we have met somewhere, he said with a warm smile. Yeah, I guess so. Do you work here? I asked. Yes, I volunteer here, and it's a great pleasure to meet a generous person like you. We are very happy to see you too. We wanted to help the children with leukemia for their treatments, I said with a warm smile. That's very good news, he said with a smile. I wonder what kind of budget you would like to help with, he asked. I said, we were thinking of giving $5 million. $5 million? That's an incredible amount. It will help cure many children and change their lives, he said with a smile. This is very good news. It's the best feeling in the world to be able to alleviate the suffering of children and give them hope. I am grateful to you, he said. As I left the office, I turned around again, and he looked back at me and winked at me with a happy expression. I winked back with a smile and left the room.